RJ Scaringe, Rivian CEO. We're here in Chicago surrounded by Amazon branded Prime vans.
Yep.
You've been waiting for this for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Just explain to me the significance of today.
Yeah, I mean, what you see, there's around 100 vans here, and this is the result of a lot of really hard work by our teams, collectively with the Amazon teams, to not just electrify a van, but importantly, really rethink the driver experience in terms of safety, in terms of ease of use, comfort. So we've been running pilot vehicles since early 2021
right.
In a variety of cities around the country and getting all that feedback.
And you've done a lot of miles.
A lot of miles, and we've changed everything and evolved everything from the floor mat design to the color of the grab handles to, of course, more sophisticated and complex things like the interface on the screens. But we're really excited to now be in a position to start ramping these in a significant way.
Chicago is one of 9 cities you're starting in.
Yep.
Explain to me the roadmap for deployment in the United States through the end of the year. How do you get to more cities?
Yeah, so as our production is continuing to ramp and we're building more and more vans, simultaneous to that, Amazon's ramping the number of their centers that can accept and ingest all these vans. So that's everything from charging infrastructure to making sure the drivers are ready. So it's a really close partnership as we plan out what it looks like when you go from hundreds to thousands to tens of thousands to 100,000 vans within their system.
How is the ramp of Rivian Prime van going? Because at the same time you're ramping R1T, introducing R1S.
Yeah.
Is the van experiencing the same supply chain issues that the consumer vehicles have?
The van and the consumer vehicle are similar in that they have the same core technology backbone. So the electronic stack, our network architecture, elements of the propulsion platform. But obviously the rest of it's very different, the body, the interior. So in some of the areas where we're constrained, like semiconductors, that has been a challenge over the last 6 months. But with regards to the way the vehicles are produced in the plant, we have 2 separate lines. So you can almost think of it as 2 plants housed on the same campus. And so the R1 line produces the truck and now our SUV, and the commercial vehicle line produces the 700 cubic foot version of the van. And then there's also a narrower and shorter one, which we call the 500. So launching 4 different vehicles on 2 different lines over the last 6 months has certainly been challenging with this supply chain backdrop, of course, with the pandemic backdrop. But the teams have really come together to deliver on that. We've been hyper-focused on ramp, living in the plant, so to speak, to get the production ramped up. And we're excited about the back half of this year.
That's a story we've heard before, living in the plant during a ramp up from another EV company. When you look at the van, it's a lot more metal. And I wondered what the commodities story has been on Amazon or Rivian Prime van relative to R1S, R1T.
The commodity side has not been a huge challenge with regards to the body structures.
The metal.
The metal. The bigger challenge, I guess, when it comes to metal is lithium. So that, which goes into the batteries. So we've seen the commodity pricing of lithium go up, and that's certainly been a challenge, not just for us, for everybody in the EV space. But in terms of raw material supply and ramping, it has been, semis have been the biggest challenge, but a lot is happening there. The relationships we have with our semiconductor suppliers is very strong, but we're also seeing the demand softening in other spaces and other industries that's creating more supply for us
you guys,
on the semiconductor front.
The original deal with Amazon that Jeff Bezos announced in September 2019 was 100,000 vans by the end of the decade, but 10,000 by the end of this year. Will you meet that target of 10,000 by the end of this year?
We're working as hard as we can to get as many vans on the road as we can, both between the production ramp, but also in terms of the deployment ramp. So we'll certainly have many thousands of vehicles on the road by the end of this year, but not providing a specific number.
Is it a hard deadline, or is the relationship with Amazon such that there's some flexibility?
It's very, very collaborative. I mean, one of the things that is hard to fully appreciate that I think is the most powerful about the relationship is both us and Amazon are so committed to making sure the driver experience is exceptional.
Right.
So before we got to this point of deploying, we've been through many iterative pilot loops to make sure the operating procedures are robust, the software that integrates their Bunny app into our in-vehicle platform, the vehicles in terms of the features and the way those features are executed work flawlessly. So both of us were committed to the idea of making sure drivers really wanted to be in these vehicles. And so to have that kind of commitment from them, we couldn't ask for a better situation.
Well, I know that they like it. You wouldn't let me drive it, but I would love to get behind the wheel.
I know, we should have done drives today.
We will. I'll hold you to it.
Yeah, we should have.
What's interesting is that you're very ambitious. In the time I've known you, you've done a lot of stuff. But could you do more stuff? I mean, you have 3 size specifications, essentially, of the Rivian Prime van.
Yeah.
Would you look at other vehicle types in the commercial space?
Well, certainly. So this vehicle we call the EDV, the electric delivery van, it sits on what we call our RCV, Rivian Commercial Van Platform. So there'll be non-Amazon versions of this platform for other applications.
For other customers as
well.
Work
vans, logistics, cargo. So there's a lot of other opportunities. And when we started to think about the commercial side of the business, or I should say the fleet side of our business, we really wanted to have a flagship partner and a flagship customer to ramp and initially scale this side of our business. And so in having Amazon, this is not just a customer, this is a very close partner. Of course, they are a large shareholder in our business, but more than that, our teams work so harmoniously together around defining the features, recognizing the feature roadmap, recognizing the trade-offs we're making as we look at different ways to deploy spending on each vehicle. Where do we want to put bill of materials costs?
Yeah.
Do we want to put more money into driver controls, or do we want to put more money into HVAC? These kinds of trade-offs. We've been very intentional with Amazon.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that point. Can you talk me through the business model on the fleet side? With Amazon, you derive a revenue from the vans, but I guess it's different to just selling a consumer the vehicle and handing over the keys. What kind of ongoing revenues do you derive? What's the kind of maintenance relationship with Amazon on an ongoing basis? Yeah,
one of the things I'm most excited about with the program, when you see the vehicles, you think it's an electric van. Yes, it's been designed for ease of use. Yes, it's been designed for safety. What you don't see is that it's been designed in parallel to a whole digital ecosystem, what we call our fleet operating system, Fleet OS.
Okay.
And that is a platform, a software platform that is attached to every vehicle. So every vehicle that we sell to Amazon has a subscription to our Fleet OS platform, which helps facilitate...
It's like a recurring revenue.
It's a recurring revenue to help drive how we're utilizing the fleet, how we're managing the health of the fleet, how we're managing the drivers within the fleet, how we're managing charging. But it's a whole set of essentially algorithms that are making lots and lots of decisions holistically at a fleet level to say, let's optimize how these vehicles live their entire life cycle. So that's a really important part of the vehicles, and we've talked a bit about our Fleet OS platform. That is something you don't see here. It's hard to fully appreciate, but it drives significant operating cost advantages for Amazon.
Yes.
And of course, it's a powerful revenue model for us.
Amazon is a global company, and they operate in jurisdictions outside of the US. Do you see a future where Rivian manufactures vans in the markets where Amazon would hope to deploy them?
Yeah, to start, we have our production facility here in Illinois, not far from here.
Not far,
But as our commercial business scales, of course, we'll have to ultimately have multiple plants producing commercial vans. And to really go into those other major markets, having localized or regionally localized production is key. So as you think about Europe as a market, in the long term, we'll certainly have to put production there as well.
Do you see a future where commercial or fleet is 50% of revenue and consumer is 50% of revenue, or is it not as straightforward as that?
No, we see the consumer side being a bigger percentage of our revenue, just as an artifact of the vast majority of the world's miles are in consumer vehicles. So there's roughly, call it 9-10 times more miles in passenger cars than there are in fleet vehicles. But it's a different market, because in the fleet business, it's you're not just selling the vehicle, but you're also, if you do it really well, like what we're working to do, you can create a lot of other revenue opportunities around selling services and supporting the life cycle of the vehicle.
Bloomberg has reported that Rivian is considering a round of layoffs or reduction in force, but those roles will be outside of manufacturing, the folks building the actual stuff. Have you made any progress on that? And what is the kind of thinking there?
Yeah, one of the things we've talked about, even in some of our earnings calls, is the need for us to be hyper-focused on the right set of objectives given the economic climate that we're in. So that's ramping our R1T, our R1S, our commercial vehicles in our normal facility. That's developing and launching and ramping our R2 platform. That's building out all of our go-to-market parts of the business. And importantly, that's also driving profitability into the business, or driving a level of cost efficiency into the business. So we've gone through the rationalization of all the different things we're doing. and has created opportunities for us to more efficiently structure parts of the team. And we're working through that process. These are some of the hardest decisions, a leader has to take in running a business, and certainly we're trying to be as intentional and as thoughtful in terms of what that means for the business, what that means for the individuals as we work through that process. But as you said, this doesn't impact our manufacturing teams. This is really more heavily in some other aspects of the business.
I know you always have one eye on the future, and I know you have a fantastic relationship with Amazon, but when do we see the next Rivian commercial customer? Are there talks ongoing, or are you, for the time being, have you bitten off more than you can chew?
I think we've taken an appropriately sized bite, but
right.
Certainly there's going to be other relationships that we'll need to announce, over the coming months and years. But I think for the moment, we are very focused on making sure we have a very happy partner in Amazon and delivering them as many vehicles as they need.